if you have oily discharge, you may want to ask your doctor about fucking weed.
Josh is making notes. Oily discharge.
Yeah, cut at oily discharge.
I actually wasn't paying attention. I'm texting Nifty.
Oh.
All I heard was oily discharge and my ears perked up.
Exactly.
If it was illegal to say stupid things into a microphone,
Why must you be so stupid?
these guys would be doing life without parole.
Hey, everybody, we're back from prison.
Why do we keep encouraging this kind of behavior? It's the Breaking the Ice podcast with Josh Dolan,
You know, we could, go to jail for this.
along with Mike Shue and Isaiah Moskahana Mana Blitz Boskowitz, whatever the hell his name is.
Nifty.
How you doing, sir?
There I am. There you guys are.
Well. I'm in the garden with your number. It's
Oh, you are.
yeah, been a long time.
I got to get that background.
Oh, I googled your name. Some interesting things came up, sir. We should talk about that.
Oh, really?
boy.
Yeah. It's all lies. Don't believe anything you see on the internet.
Well, thanks for
Only what
joining
Doc tells you. He'd never lie.
Well,
Right.
thanks a lot for joining us, Mr. Middleton.
Pleasure,
We
man.
appreciate it. And
Nifty, please.
okay, well, thank you, sir. Yes, Nifty, if you don't know, was let's see, you spent 12 seasons with the Bruins, and how many total in the NHL?
14.
Okay, so the majority of that with the Bruins.
And one in the American League. My first year when I got drafted by the Rangers, I played in Providence for the Providence Reds. So I was in New England when I was 19 years old. I lived in Cranston, Rhode Island.
Love it.
Wow.
Yep.
The home of Narragansett beer. Yeah, man.
Did a few of those flow when you were early in your career?
What?
Did a few of those flow early in your career?
Well, surprisingly, being a good Canadian boy, I wasn't a big beer drinker.
What?
I was more of a Canadian club type of a guy.
Yes, that's right. There you go.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, you were captain for a few of those years in the mid '80s with the Bruins, and I just want to get your opinion on in the wake of Zdeno Chara leaving the Bruins. What kind of effect does that have on a team? A player like Chara and then a team captain leaving.
Well, you hate to lose any team when you have a unit together like they had for quite a while, especially Bergeron, Marchand. The team has changed since the 2011 Cup team, but these guys are still there, and you really hate to see one of your good buddies leave. I mean, back when I played, you didn't have free agency, so there wasn't a lot of movement. So your team really stuck. If you had a good team, you guys stuck together for a lot of years. Peter McNabb and I roomed together for 8 years before he got traded away. It happens to everybody, and that's what you tell yourself. It happens to everybody. Could happen to me next year, but he was the captain. He was their leader. He's certainly a physical force out there. And whether, you think that he's lost a step or he's not, certainly not the Zdeno Chara he was 10 years ago, but none of us are. I think he could still help that team out. But I also think that they needed to give ice time to some of the younger guys that hadn't been getting it, because you got to do the transition sooner or later. And I think they just thought this year was the perfect year with no fans in the building.
Right.
Let's bring these young guys up and see what they can do. But and Z hasn't given them like a finale. Like every year, it's one more year, it's one more year. And I think a combination of a lot of those things. That if he had said, well, I'll play one more year and then, I'd like to get into management somewhere, with the team, and, they might have worked out a deal with him. But I think Z wants to play for at least another 2-3 years.
I was just wondering also about, what it takes to be a captain in the NHL. There's no is there like a set standard? Like, are there rules to that? Or is that just something that each team decides on a case by case basis? What does it take to be a captain on an NHL team?
It's a leadership thing. It's usually guys that have been around for a little while that have proven that they're good teammates. The rest of the guys on the team respect them. Some guys, are raw guys in the dressing room, and other guys just show it on the ice. You're not standing up giving speeches before every game, no. But if something happens within the team that needs to be a little straightened out, or somebody needs a little pull aside and talk to, the captains usually do that, without telling anybody. We never experienced that in Boston pretty much, but because in Boston, the thing I learned early when I got there is you don't let the other guy down. I mean, that you had the respect, you had the continuation of leadership from Johnny Busick to Wayne Cashman to Terry O'Reilly, and then Ray and myself, and then Ray ultimately. It was just an honor for me to be considered to be a captain, and to be a co-captain with Ray was an ultimate honor. I mean, outside of having the number retired, being named the captain of a team, an NHL team, is one of the greatest honors you can have.
I was going to say, what? Go ahead, Josh. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I didn't even realize until they named Bergeron the captain, and they said he was the 20th captain. I'm like, since 1924, there's only been 20? Doesn't seem like enough.
Can you name the first one?
The first one? Was it Eddie Shore? I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, no, very good, but no.
Milt Schmidt.
No. Let's get back to the 20s. Craig Cleghorn.
Cleghorn.
That's a 1920s name.
Wow.
In our alumni suite, we have the captain's pictures all up there from the first one to the last.
You mentioned the honor of being named co-captain or being named a captain. What was a bigger day? I'll give you 3 dates. 1973, when you got drafted by the Rangers, the day you got named captain, or potentially the entire season, 81-82, when you had 51 goals, you got the Lady Byng trophy, and you were named to one of 3 all-star teams. Which one of those dates bigger?
That's a good question. I've never been asked that question before.
I'm different.
I'd have to say the draft.
Sure.
I'd have to say the draft. I
Right.
thought you were going to say the retirement, and then I'd go with that one.
I left that. That's for a next question. That's for that's up here.
Because the draft is you never know from year to year, and really your last year, you might have had some. Maybe you're one of those players like, say, a Dennis Potvin played 5 years in my era, 5 years in junior for the Ottawa 67. I played 2. So he had great. Everybody knew he was going to go number 1. They probably knew it 3 years before. But with me, I only played 2. I played a year of B when I got drafted by the Generals, Oshawa Generals, because I wasn't big enough. And then I only played 2 years of junior. And my last year turned out to be the best year of my whole career. I led the league in goals and third in points. And all of a sudden I was like first round, material. So it was, to me, a surprise too. I didn't see it. I like doubled my goal. I think I had 36 my first year and 67 my second.
Wow.
It's my left winger scored over 50. We had the highest scoring line.
That's got to be the best day in a kid's life, being drafted.
You stay at the Royal York or whatever it was those days. It wasn't on TV. Your mom and dad, being proud Canadian parents.
Yeah, right.
Unbelievable. And then you sit there and you wait because you've heard all the rumors. Buffalo's interested, or I never really heard the Rangers that much beforehand. But you don't know, when am I going to go? Am I even going to go in the first round?
That's cool.
The money wasn't there like it is today, so you're really not thinking dollar figures. Although you're probably going to get more money if you go in the first round.
Right.
And then when they called me, which I don't have a very clear memory of, but I just it's kind of like the whole thing ties in my brain. But I remember my mom and dad were just on top of the world.
Yeah, didn't the Bruins sign Bobby Orr by they convinced him by being like, "Hey, we're gonna buy your parents like a new fridge or something," and they're like,
Well,
"Okay."
what happened then before expansion of '68, the junior teams in Canada were sponsored or owned by NHL teams, and the Bruins owned the Oshawa Generals. And honest God, I read this story. They were looking at Bobby at 12 years old
Wow.
to play. And they wouldn't, obviously his mother wouldn't let him go live in Oshawa at 12. So
Let my kid become 13. Let him be a teenager.
they sent, what's his name? I'll think of it. Ren Blair. He went to Minnesota in the expansion. He worked, I think he was the GM in the Minnesota North Stars at one time. They sent him to Parry Sound, Ontario to live there and make sure nobody else got to Bobby.
Oh, really?
And then the story goes, I don't know, when he was 14 or 15, the rink burned down in Oshawa, and the Generals had to play all their games in Toronto. So his mother let him sign a deal with the Generals, which made him Boston Bruins property, and drive from Parry Sound to Toronto and drive home for the game, not stay over anywhere. So he could play the games in Toronto and drive home. That's the story I heard.
Jeez.
At 14, 15.
Bobby Orr was pretty good, huh?
You didn't have to be 20 to be drafted in those days. You could play, I think, at any age. 18.
Wow.
Bobby came up at 18. And,
Yeah, Bobby was a little different. And then you and him ended up having the same agent, didn't you?
well, that's another story.
Yeah, he was a good guy, huh?
Considering that, Josh. Alan Eagleson. Yeah. Alan Eagleson. That's it. We could do a whole show on that one.
We could do an extra episode if that was a bad experience you feel like sharing.
I don't want to get sued. He's still alive.
Oh God. How was it? You had the legendary Don Cherry as a coach. How was that guy to be, he from what I can recall made you a better player, but I want to hear it from you, not from what I read.
Absolutely. When I got drafted, I was an offensive guy and, obviously 67 goals in junior, on your own end a lot. And so I go to New York and I'll go to Providence. I had a pretty good year in Providence, won Rookie of the Year in the American League. Then I get up to New York and I got 18 goals by Christmas. Then I got a stick in the mouth, lost 4 teeth and 16 stitches. And I played 3 games in Minnesota. A week later, I went over on my ankle and fractured my ankle. So that was a bad week. I ended up with 22. And then the next year was the year of the big trade in New York. I didn't really have a very good year. But when I got to Boston, I was known as a goal scorer. But nobody ever taught me that there's another end of the rink. I mean, you have the responsibility in your own end, too.
You mean the two-way player thing?
Yeah. What is that?
Right.
Don tried to force it through my brain by attrition of ice time, but his problem was he played me my first game as a Bruin with Jean Rattel and Johnny Busick, and I got a hat trick my first game. So now I got 3. Now how's he going to bench me? But he did. He didn't bench me. He platooned me. I played right wing, left wing. In those days, they had a really good team, and you just didn't walk into a lineup, take somebody's job. And so, but I didn't know what he wanted all year. I'd look at Peter McNabb and go, what the hell does he want? But then I started playing more the next year in '78. By '79, regular shift, and that was Don's last year. But I always credited him with not only helping me learn both ends of the ice and how to play like that. The complete game, I call it. But he would never, have me kill a penalty or anything. I was on the power play once in a while. But he also played me left wing. And in the 1981 Canada Cup, I made the Canada team on left wing because they had injuries. And if Don never played me on left wing, I probably never would have made the team.
That's cool. In '84, you won the Canada Cup gold. How was that day? How was that experience?
Well, '84, and they didn't tell me going in that they put me on a line with Gretzky and Goulet on left wing, and so all of a sudden, it's like, oh my God, even though I'm older than Gretz is Gretz, and I didn't get nervous, but it really made me key my game up because I know he was always going to be in the right position, and I better be in the right position when he's got the puck because I know he's going to try to get it to me. So it raises your game when you're playing with players like that. You got to really raise your game up and focus so much that you're doing the right thing. Unfortunately, the team never gelled very well, and we finished fourth out of 6 teams in the round robin, and that's why we played the Russians in the semifinals, and we beat them 3-2 in overtime at the Saddle Dome, and then we played the Swedes 2 out of 3 final. We beat them 2 straight, but for the gold. Whatever you call it. It was just a throw. In '81, we beat the Russians 7-3 at the Montreal Forum in the round robin. They kicked our butt 8-1 in the final. That was the same team that the U.S. team beat in 1980.
Wow.
They beat us 8-1. It was 1-1 halfway through the game. That's how explosive those guys are.
Jeez.
Wow.
They had Tretiak in that. The last time I think Tretiak played in a real big game.
Damn. What other players have you played with that have had that effect on you, like Gretzky? Like you say, you get to someone who's like that, and it kind of raises your game.
Mainly centerman, Jean Rattel. When I was in New York, I could never play on his line because Rod Gilbert was always his right wing. So I didn't play on a line with Ratty, we call him, until I got to Boston. And then, future Hall of Famer. I mean, he was 35 years old when he came to Boston.
Wow.
Played for another 5 years. So again, just a brilliant centerman. And when you're a winger, you got to be in the right place at the right time because he's going to know, he's going to be looking for you. You know, whether it's the defensive zone, the neutral zone, the offensive zone. And then Barry Peterson and I just kind of had that chemistry that we thought there might be a problem because he was a right-handed center and getting the puck over to me on his backhand or whatever. But no, he always knew exactly when I like to get the puck right around center ice so I can get my head up and don't get killed. And I have a time to, in those days, you can slow if the defenseman, they call it the gap today, but if the defenseman was too far from me, I'd try to slow down, so then he's got to slow down. And then he's almost flat-footed. By the time I speed up going over the blue line, he's back in on his goalie. I've got him, So, but you can't slow down these days. Too much back pressure. They're back checking.
Who do you think the best player on the ice is right now in the NHL? Just pick one. That's tough.
I don't even know them all.
Right.
Honestly, I don't even know.
I mean, one that really just sticks out in your mind, like, wow, that kid or that player is like, when you watch players like Mario Lemieux, you watch players like Sidney Crosby, you look at players like Bobby Orr back in your day.
You see them now, especially the West, Connor McDavid. How often do you get to see him play?
Right.
You
got to get the center ice package.
Stats or whatever. He got a hat trick in his first game this year.
Right.
And the team's struggling. They don't have the depth there. The secondary scoring, similar to what Boston has. I mean, Boston is going to go by their top line, like always.
Right.
They don't have a lot of secondary scoring. Edmonton suffers from that too. To me, the biggest difference is goalies. If you look at the first series against New Jersey, Blackwood, he's 6'4". I had to Google him. He's 6'4", 225 pounds. He was bent over like Terry Sawchuk, and his back was hitting the crossbar.
He's bigger than the net.
I'm like, how the hell is he doing this guy? I said, I could never play today because there's no 5-hole. I could go down with the butterfly. I used to like to dunk it through the legs. The puck half the time wouldn't hit the back of the net. It would just kind of wobble over the line.
But
What?
The goalies are unbelievable today.
And the pads are unbelievable too.
Yeah,
I mean, they didn't have pads like that back then.
The style, the conditioning, and the size. It's like
Right.
I think Rask, people for some reason have doubts about Tuukka Rask, and I think it's just because he had to up and leave, in that last season, and I think that kind of threw a lot of people.
That was a little weird, yeah.
Yeah, but that was for family. There was a family emergency, right? I mean, you gotta. I don't understand how people can't cut him some.
Well, nobody really knew. It wasn't. It wasn't like, oh, my daughter fell off they had a car accident or something. Nobody really knew what happened. He just left, and he didn't leave it open that he might even come back. It was like, I'm out of here. And you know, some people looked at it, I'm sure, as you know, taking off on your team, leaving them hanging. But the players didn't, and the team didn't. So you know, they left that open in that strange situation of the bubble. Guys could leave or not even come, not even play.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I think the only reason that I have any doubts in Tuukka Rask is when I was covering the Bruins for WEEI and I was in the locker room all the time and he would take his equipment off, I realized me and him have the same exact body and I should not be in the NHL. I'm like, we have the same build.
Good. He is, and so are you. You must be in really good shape, Josh.
Not really.
Well, the pandemic has bulked us up a little bit.
All those guys are skinny dudes. They have like 3% body fat on them.
Yeah.
You know? Not like our day.
They got to be wiry. They got to be flexible and wiry, right? They got to, you know,
well, yeah, but
go with the reflexes.
I mean, strong as hell. I mean,
yeah.
You don't have to have a lot of fat on you to be strong.
The speed compared to when you played to the way the NHL is these days is night and day. I mean, just the fact that helmets, you know, they need to be wearing more than helmets.
It is a faster, continuous game, but you know, I always think that our game was pretty good. I mean, you look at some games. Oh yeah, okay, you're out there. I mean, back in the day, even early in my career, with the Phil Esposito taking the 3-minute shift, you'd pace yourself out there. You wouldn't be certainly going full out for 3 minutes, or you'd be a strong man or something. But now today they've got so much information on the athletes, how many minutes each one can play before they kind of break down mentally, physically. And they just top it off that if they know if you're working full out as hard as you should be working, you shouldn't be out there more than 45 seconds.
Right.
And, you know, they know that. And that's what happens. But back in our day, you come off when you're tired.
That's how much Josh works every day, about 45 seconds. He gets tired and he has to take a nap.
He likes those shifts. But he goes hard.
Hard.
It's not about the amount of time, Isaiah. It's what you do in that amount of time.
In those 45 seconds, you're killing it. I love it.
You're not pacing yourself. No.
Well, also, as compared to back in the day, if we're talking about the pace of the game and monitoring the athletes, as opposed to when, like, say, you back in your day or back when you started, and now they're watching it's like, what nutrition works best for each athlete. And, what vitamins, what supplements, what liquids they should be taking in. And then in your day, what was it? It was like you guys had a fridge full of beer in the locker room, right? And I see Sanderson in those old videos smoking butts
for a while.
In the locker room on camera.
Not the locker room. That they did just before I came into the league, probably up to about 1970. They'd be smoking cigars with the action.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I had to sneak downstairs to have my cigar.
Right.
No, but I came in. I was in when I played. It was the changeover. I'm happy when I did play because I caught the end of old time hockey. That was, I call that, like, up until '79 when the helmet rule came in.
Right.
I played with Eddie Giacomin and Rod Gilbert and Jean Rital, guys that I idolized growing up. And the game was different. I mean, you look at some of the tapes, okay, it's not as fast as today, but you could clutch and grab and slash. And and there was always a couple fights in the game. Some of them took 3 hours. It was a horrible. And then we flew commercial. We had to stay over in cities for 2 weeks. It was a grind.
Yeah.
And then you go to training camp to get into shape. And then all of a sudden, 1980, the helmet rule came in, and American players started coming in, and the Americans were training year-round to catch up to the Canadians. So now all of a sudden, these guys are training year-round. Now you got to train year-round, and then you have to go to training camp to get into shape. And by the time the 90s rolled around, these guys, it wasn't. You had to be in shape, and you had to be at a certain level of conditioning before you even got into camp. But in our day, you just showed up and you did 2-a-days, boring as hell, until for 2 weeks before you play a game.
And that's 2 days in Fitchburg, Mass, too. I mean, that is a real grind.
In the late 70s, and they're still talking about that today.
Yep.
When the Bruins were there.
How do you think this year, obviously it's a much shorter season. I mean, this COVID thing has jacked everything up, but it's a much shorter season with 52 games. The Canadians can't come to America and the Americans can't go to Canada. So the Canadians are up there doing their thing for now. But look at the Bruins. I mean, you play the people in your division 8 times. I mean, talk about reintroducing rivalries. Yeah, it's sad that the Bruins won't play the Canadians.
That's what happened when we were playing, when I was playing.
Okay.
You had the Montreal, Boston, you hate each other, you play so often. Then you had to play the first 2 rounds of the playoffs just to go to your own division.
Right.
You know, the first 2 rounds are harder than the last 2 rounds if you got to the Stanley Cup.
Right.
So what's strange was the first 2 rounds were always physical, knock them down, punch them out. And then you get into the skating rounds because you didn't have the animosity because you didn't play these guys very much. So you didn't have the same hatred. And then by the time, if you got to the Stanley Cup finals, except in the 70s with Montreal, we always seemed to hit them, you'd hit like a juggernaut. And we hit the Islanders in the early 80s and Edmonton in the late 80s. So there's just always that one other team.
That's what's going to suck about this year is not seeing, a Bruins Canadians game. Really? That's like not seeing a Red Sox Yankees game. What are we really?
They could, I don't know. Can they play in the finals or they can only play?
I would imagine that they could when the playoffs come around.
They have to.
They have to.
What divisions are going to play each other?
I'm not sure.
Are they in the East? Those 2 divisions are in the East, or how do they? I don't know how they lined it up because you got to have semifinals first. Which 2 divisions play each other?
Right. And they're going to have to figure out some kind of bubble situation because if you spend the whole season where the Canadian teams are in Canada and the United States teams are here, there very well could be a, Boston, Toronto. There has to be something.
Montreal final.
Wow.
But
you imagine that?
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
That would be great.
There's some pretty strong teams out there this year.
There are.
Unfortunately. But I think it's great. Shorter season. You got to get out of the box, like a horse race. If you get left behind early, you don't have that time to catch up. You got COVID. Look at Dallas. They haven't even started the season yet. They're going to be playing a lot of minor league guys right out of the box probably, right? And then you got totally changed division. I mean, I think the Canadians are loving it because they get to see all their teams play each other.
Right.
They're guaranteed at least one's going to get in the semifinal.
Right.
That's funny.
I was going to ask about what the effect of a shortened season would have on the game and the players. You kind of just explained it a little bit there, but also just playing people in your particular division and playing. How would you say, Isaiah? They see each of their teams
8 times.
8
Oh yeah.
times.
So the Bruins will play like the Flyers 8 times.
8
They'll
times. The Devils 8 times.
8 times.
Right.
The games are back to back, so it's almost like playoff style now.
Look at the New Jersey series. Something happened in the first game. Wood running grass a couple times.
Yep.
Fight. First minute of the second game.
I love that.
You don't have to wait for a month before you play them again.
Yeah, there's no cooling off period.
No.
So there will be more fights.
I think in certain series you're going to have that physical games, and you're going to be able to remember it in the next game 2 days later.
Right.
You're gonna forget it. Yeah.
I think it would be interesting that the 2 teams that meet each other in a playoff situation from 2 different divisions, will not have really seen each other, will not have played each other. So it'll be like a totally new. To me, that's really interesting. I mean, I don't know if it really matters.
Look at the finals against Vancouver in 11, right? They didn't play each other a lot during the year, so there wasn't that hatred. But that hatred started after the first game, the second game, the fighting, and all of a sudden that turned into a hell of a series.
Who was it that brought up the dirty water and put it on the ice?
Yeah, the water,
Yeah, that was Horton.
That was Horton.
Yeah. He brought a bottle full of Boston water and poured it all over their ice. It's like, we're bringing the dirty water to Vancouver.
That was awesome. But the series didn't start out with a lot of animosity, but it certainly grew into it.
They got familiar.
Yes.
I learned to hate you.
Yeah. They became good friends.
The Vancouver fans still hate Boston people, really.
That's too bad.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Hey, so on November 29th and 18, that was when number 16 got retired. Your number got retired, after playing all those years with the Bruins. Congratulations on that. That's why I put this up here. But how was that phone call you got from Cam Neely?
I certainly never forget it. And actually, he called me and missed me, and then our secretary said, Cam's looking for you. So I called him, and I missed him. So secretary called him, and he called me back. But, it was July. So, I knew nobody had worn 16 for about 6 years. So it wasn't like I thought about it every day. But, as the years went on and nobody had it on, the possibility crossed my mind, but not in July. And so I was at home, and he calls me because I'm the president of the alumni. He calls me on occasion on alumni stuff. That's what I thought it was. And then when we finally hooked up, he says, small talk like, how's the family? How's your golf game? And then just blurted it out. Said, well, we decided we're going to retire number 16. And I was, what? I just said, what? I didn't think I heard him straight. And honestly, I got, as I said many times, I got a little emotional at it. And which, you would think that's kind of normal. I'm not usually that type of guy to start getting emotional, but my wife come home 5 minutes later, thought somebody died. She said, what's wrong?
Why are you crying?
But a shock. And he caught me off guard totally.
How's your golf game? Oh yeah, we're retiring your number. Gotta
go. Yeah, he set me up. I'm thinking, oh, really not very good. And
you're thinking about that 9-iron. You're like, out of the sand trap. Hey, by the way, Nifty number 16 is going up. Excuse me?
Yeah. Did I hear you right?
Now, was 16 a number that you picked, or that they just gave you and you're like, well, this is my number?
I picked it because A, it was available, and B, it's Derek Sanderson. Derek and I played together in New York my rookie year. And it's another great story. Roundabout, he actually was responsible, he didn't even know this, for getting me traded to Boston. Or getting me traded, period. But if you got time, I'll tell you the quick story. But,
oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Derek Sanderson.
I want to hear this one.
It was the 70s. I had hair down on my shoulders, and they thought I was having too much fun in New York, which I was having some fun. And but when you're on a winning team, it really doesn't matter too much. They look by it. But when you're losing, they look at everything. So my second year was the year of the big trade. They fired Emile Francis. They traded Derek. And then they traded for Espo and Vadnais for Park and Rattel and Zanussi. So I actually got a chance to play on a line with Phil Esposito, which was a great honor when he came to New York. But our team never really gelled that year. So our second coach was Ron Stewart, a former NHL player with the Leafs. I watched him when I was growing up in Toronto. And then they fired him because we weren't doing well, and they brought in the tough guy from the Montreal Canadiens, John Ferguson, whose son works with the Bruins now. And so just before John came in, there was an article put in the paper that the reason they traded Derek was he was getting two of the younger players into training problems. Rick Middleton and Ron Greshner. They put our names in the friggin' paper.
Nice.
He's already gone for a month. He's in St. Louis. So I don't think that was right. So I didn't say anything right away. But some reporter came in one night and asked me about it. And he wasn't a beat reporter. I should have known better. But I was, in my second year in the league. Next day, a guy hands me the New York Post. He says, take a look. And I open it up, and big inch-high headlines. Middleton takes shot at boss.
Oh.
Because I said that Bill Jennings, the owner, believed in such gossip because it wasn't true.
To be traded next day by.
Well, that was the start of it. And then John came in, and, he thought guys had taken injuries. He kicked the doctors out of the dressing room.
Oh, God.
That was the thing. And then we're statistically out of the playoffs, and we're in Vancouver, and for some reason the Rangers always beat Vancouver. It was like it didn't matter, and we weren't even in the playoffs now. So the guys happened to go out the night before the game a little late, and I was actually the first guy back, and I was hungry. I grabbed a sandwich and walked into the Hotel Vancouver, which is a block long, and there's like 3 different entrances. So I'm thinking, well, I'll sneak in this way. And I go in, and who do I run into? Smack in the middle of the lobbies, but John Ferguson.
Oh,
And he,
hi.
he says, "You better get a friggin' hat trick tomorrow." And he used stronger language than that. So I said, "Oh, well, I usually don't play too bad in Vancouver, John. You better get a friggin' hat trick." So I tell the guys on the team, and I did get one. I got one in the first period, and everybody stands up on the bench going, two more. So there's other things that happen too. But by the end of the year, from what I read in Espo's book, he wanted one of his old wingers. It wasn't like Espo wanted to get rid of me. And the Bruins had soured on Kenny Hodge, I guess, looking back. And so they made the trade, even though Kenny was 10 years older than me. They just wanted to get me out of New York to save my life.
Kenny played for one more year, and you went on to have an unbelievable career. Talk about
I
a
was 10
flip
years
flop.
older than Kenny,
That helps.
So I had a lot of time in front of me, but I could have got traded to Winnipeg, which I might have ended my career.
The Jets.
I was free. I had a no trade. The only city I didn't want to be traded to was Winnipeg. So I don't know.
Imagine owning the Winnipeg Jets and like, what, really? You
You
don't want to come here?
But luckily, I got traded to Boston. It was a godsend. Could have happened. Could have gone anywhere. And nobody wants to get traded. I had, dreams of ticker tape parades. I mean, the Bruins and the Rangers played for the Cup in '72. I got drafted the next year. I went to training camp and I couldn't crack the lineup because they still had a Stanley Cup caliber team.
Yeah.
That's why I went to Providence. And then by '75, they were a team in turmoil. They were changing everything. But they made it back by '79. When the too many men on the ice with Don Cherry, we would have played the Rangers for the Stanley Cup. I scored 4 minutes to go up 4-3, and then Lafleur scored with. We had too many men on the ice. He scored with a minute to go, and they beat us in overtime. Or we were playing the Rangers for the Cup in '79.
Then you ended up in Boston, and then you and your new team ended up going back to New York, and then they went into the stands to fight the Rangers fans to stick up for you. So
that was the next year.
Right?
It wasn't anything to do with me. And if you want to know what
you're in the film,
if you really want to know what happened was that Esposito had we were up 6-5. We're up by a goal. I don't know how this happened, but with 5 seconds to go in the game, Esposito's got a breakaway on Cheevers, and Cheesy stopped him, and we won 6-5. So Espo takes his stick and smashes it on the ice as in Espo fashion, and storms off. So I jumped over the boards and tapped Cheesy on the pads, and the Zamboni doors are right there to go to the dressing room. So I start walking down the carpet, long walk in Madison Square to the dressing room, and Cheesy and Mike Milbury. So we're about halfway to the dressing room, and we hear the fans going nuts. We turn around, nobody's coming. So Mike and I don't think Cheesy ran back out. Mike and I ran back out, and I got up the first level, and I look over here. I see Terry lying on top of a guy, and I didn't see the guy up here originally. But Mike must have. So Mike kept running up the stairs, and the guy's now between the seats with his legs in the air. He couldn't even get. He had no clue what happened. He just figured.
Wow.
And they took the shoe off and started hitting them with the shoe.
Oh, yeah, the shoe.
We called it the hush puppy incident.
That's right.
And,
Hush puppy.
and they sued the Bruins. The 2 guys were brothers, and the first guy, and the camera never picked this up. He leaned. The glass was low in those days. He leaned over the glass and hit. I think it was Stan Jonathan or Secord. A brawl was going to break out any second, and he hit him, and he grabbed his stick.
Yep.
So when Terry saw him with the stick, he didn't know if he was going to hit a player or a fan, and that's why Terry went over. Then the guy's brother came running down and jumped on Terry. So Peter McNabb saw that, so Peter went over. The guy ran back up the stairs. Peter just grabbed him and threw him, and he ended up in. It took about 15 seconds. I mean, that was nobody got hospitalized or anything. It looked good.
I can't even imagine that happening these days.
No way.
In the era of, everyone's got a camera on their phone, and the world's just gotten more litigious, it would be blown way out of proportion. And you know what, though, to me, that's like getting your money's worth.
Oh my God.
The camera never picked up the original hit. So I don't even look like, oh, there's Terry O'Reilly again going up to
Well, come on. There's some validity to that.
Right. Little reputation there, baby.
If you know Terry personally, though, the last thing he would do is go beat up a fan.
Yeah.
But he's still intimidating because I remember one time I was at Kowloon with you and Terry O'Reilly and a few other people, and I had never had sushi, and you and Terry were like, "You've never had eat it," and I was like, "Okay." When Terry O'Reilly says, "Eat the sushi," you eat the sushi.
That's right. You eat it. Yeah. Well, he was a captain, so you follow what the captain said.
Right. Yeah. Well, this has been pretty amazing. Having you on Nifty. Thank you so much for
pleasure, guys.
coming on to the Breaking the Ice podcast and telling and sharing your stories and your opinions and
all about the stories, that.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations on an amazing career too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
And also you got our
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, are you allowed to talk about the movie?
Yeah.
What?
What movie?
Since I'm in it. No.
What?
Oh, no. What happened was that back in 2002, I got asked, actually in 2001, I got asked if I'd coach the U.S. national sled hockey team.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what sled hockey was, because I didn't. And what happened was their team, the coach quit after the World Championships in 2000. They didn't have a coach. They're going into Salt Lake City in 2002 in the Paralympics.
Right.
As the host team. And they'd only ever won one game in their history, and they were going to be the 6th seed or the 16th, last seed, because they only ever won one game. So they built me up with that information. Then they asked me if I want to coach. And I said, well, I'm thinking, oh, shit, I don't think the Olympics is going to be calling me anytime soon. I'm almost 50. And I found I had to answer right away. But honest to God, I had never seen sled hockey. You know what sled hockey is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
never.
yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, make a long story short, I accepted the job. We had our selection camp in Buffalo, New York in August 2001. 30 guys showed up, had to pick 15 for the team. And some pretty good guys out there, but I didn't know the game, so I didn't know how to compare them. And we were supposed to play in a tournament in Montreal in September 2001 with Japan, Canada, and us, and 9/11 happened. We were supposed to go up there on September 13th. So they sent Japan home, flew them home. We called an emergency camp 3 weeks after 9/11 because we didn't have another one till the end of October. I'm like, we only got 6 months with the worst team in sled hockey to go in and not get embarrassed in front of our own fans. We got to do something. So we called another camp. And you remember what that was like. Nobody wanted to get on an airplane. The airports were vacant. Every guy showed up from all over the country. Not one guy refused to fly. And they all showed up in Buffalo. And we only had about 6 camps, one in each city where the guys lived. Dallas, Boston, Minnesota. We went back to Salt Lake City, Chicago. And then we went into Salt Lake in March of 2002. The last seed again. Nobody's seen it. We never played anybody for 6 months. Nobody's seen us. And we ended up winning the gold medal.
Yeah.
Nice.
With a coach who never coached sled hockey before.
Right.
Didn't even know what it was when they the coach, right? And you end up with the gold. That's
the very
amazing
first
story.
time I was on the ice with them was a little camp. It wasn't I hadn't been named yet. I hadn't been sanctioned yet as the head coach. So they sent me to Tampa, Florida of all things. And to this day, I don't know why Tampa. But we had the crack ice time at 6 o'clock in the morning. And the hotel was right, it was a side street, I remember. And hotel was right down the street. So I go over early and I get on the ice and you blow the whistle, speed up, and the whistle go the other way. And then I blew the whistle, I went backwards. And they all stopped and looked at me. And I went, shit, they don't go backwards.
And that's what the movie's about.
Out of that one. We got a good laugh. But the rest of the game was pretty much the same. No red line, like they do now. Same 6 guys. But the thing is that you only dress 12 guys. They only dress 2 lines, 4 defense, and 2 goalies.
Oh, okay.
And that's it. So if you get an injury, you don't have any. You got 3 guys in the stands, extras, but you weren't allowed in those days to dress them. I don't know if they can today. But since then, my assistant coach, Tommy Moulton, good friend, who's also involved with the movie. Josh knows him. His wife is a De Niro, so we're trying to get Bob to make the movie for us.
Hey,
my God. That'd be
He's a
awesome.
De Niro.
Yeah.
It's not bad to know a De Niro if you're doing Hollywood stuff.
No, exactly. So we don't know where it's going to go, but where we're at right now is we have a group from Massachusetts, because initially we're going to make it an indie film, try to raise as little money as possible and get this done by the 22 Olympics and Paralympics.
Right.
We're past the point right now to be able to do that. So we're just going to try to make this the biggest and best movie we can. And we're actually recently got some studios like Tribeca, Bob's studio and such we're talking to. So we're hoping, and that way, from what we're told, is if you get an A-list director, they'll attract an A-list actor, and then the money is going to go up, and it's going to become bigger. So, as we joked, like 4 years ago, we started this, and another partner of ours, Gary Brandt, said he's a business guy as opposed to me, and Tommy's a business guy too. But Gary said, I set up a plan. We thought we'd bang this out in about 9 months. That was 4 years ago.
Right. Never.
So we learned a lot about the movie business, but we're past the point of no return now. We're making this movie one way.
It's awesome.
Well, it's a story that should be told.
We're going to use the national team guys to do the hockey on ice scenes, because you can't do sled hockey. No. And then we're going to have what we're hoping we're going to have is the most disabled actors in a movie ever. We're going to use
good for you.
We're not making up fake CGI stuff. There's a whole union, I'm told, of actors with disabilities in Hollywood, and we're going to hire them to play their doubles. From what I know about it, and we're hoping to set a record.
That's cool.
And it's going to be called The Real Miracle on Ice.
Sleddingthemovie.com. If you want to check it out.
I have an idea. Why don't you call it Hey Nifty, They Don't Go Backwards?
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, it's a good title.
That'll be the book.
I mean, it's like, I didn't know. I didn't even know what this was 20 minutes ago.
Don't go backwards? I said, why don't you try it? They were all like, all right, forget it.
Now, if you had the choice, who would you pick to play you?
Yeah.
Well, everybody, naively, we're joking because, when you get an A-list actor, it costs you millions. And we'd be lucky if we got 1 or 2 million to do an indie. That's what we were looking at initially. But we always joke, why not the Boston guys?
Lenny Clark.
Let me do it.
He's a little too old, or I would have thought of Lenny.
Careful, he'll kick your ass. He's in good shape these days.
Oh, I know. He showed me his six-pack.
I know.
He's
showing off his
he loves pulling his shirt up.
I said, Lenny, I got a wine rack. You got a six-pack. But no, Damon or Wahlberg would be great, but they asked for a lot of money, and it doesn't have to be them. But being Boston guys, we thought maybe they'd like to do it, but it's all scheduling, it's all money.
Yeah.
So we're at the point where, we'd love it if a studio would just grab it and take it.
Right. Hey, look, if you know one of the De Niros, maybe.
You never know. But a year ago we weren't here. Now we're here. So
congrats.
Thanks. We'll see where it goes. We'll keep you posted.
Yeah,
that's
please.
Awesome.
Because that's a good story. That's a.
Can we be extras in the movie?
What's great? Yeah, you can. We were doing online virtual casting. You could have done. You could go on Tough Sledding the movie.
Look, I can't go backwards either, so I'm perfect.
Still open.
I'm perfect. I'm all in.
I think it's still open.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for coming on today, Nifty. This has been really cool. Really, really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Josh. I'm glad that you're doing well.
Yeah, it was good to hear from you again. It's been a while.
You're going to be a father soon?
I am, yes. Surprisingly, in May.
I'm a grandfather. My son in Seattle had twin boys a little over a year ago. Identical.
Oh, congrats.
Wow.
He named them Bear and Hawk.
No way. That's awesome.
Bear Middleton and Hawk Middleton. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I can't wait till they play sports.
That's
those are sports names.
And they're identical. Sure. They'll grow up playing on the same team for a while.
Hawk.
The new Seattle Kraken team is building a new practice facility in Seattle, 10 minutes from their house.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
perfect.
So new rinks there. So when they're old enough, they're a little over a year now. They're born on Halloween.
So we can call you Grandpa Nifty now. Grandpa Nifty.
You call me Grandpa. Yeah.
It'll be the second coming of the Sundin twins.
I don't mind it now. I don't mind Grandpa.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Sounds like things are good.
Thank you. Yeah. Stay healthy. That's the main thing.
Yeah, you too. And you have Bruins Alumni TV now, so you're still doing alumni games, and people can check it out.
We got them in the can. They're on bruinsalumni.com. The 1 hour shows, and not just watching a bunch of old guys skate around slow. The 5 great charities. Our last one was the Light Foundation, Matt Light's Foundation.
Oh, nice.
And we got 5 games scheduled for after. Hopefully get 1 or 2 more. Yeah.
That's great.
So check it out. Yeah.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Thanks, Nifty.
Thanks, Nifty. We appreciate it, man.
You guys take care. All the best.
Thanks, Grandpa Nifty.
We'll do it again. When the movies get closer, we'll come back on and talk.
Yeah, please.
Love it.
Perfect. Yes.
Keep us posted.
Great. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you.
Nifty. See you later.
You got to be in that movie, Josh.
Hey, I'm not actually disabled. Didn't you?
Well,
I did have scoliosis, but I mean, I don't know if that'll cut it.
just walk in and be like, Nifty, I can't go backwards either. So you're fine.
He knows. He's seen me play.
It's just a tough to go forwards.
All right. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Oh, that was great.
That was awesome.
Solid.
Old stories.
What was it? Hawk and Bear? Those
Hawk and
are
Bear.
not fucking around names.
No.
Hawk Middleton.
Oh, that's
Right?
a good hockey name too. Oh,
Hawk.
They got to
Middleton.
sports. You just can't have a name like that and, be like, no disrespect, but be an accountant.
No.
That
No,
doesn't
if
look
your
good
name
on
is
the
Hawk Middleton.
accountant.
No. What'd you think, Facandis?
I liked it.
Do you even like hockey?
I do. I don't follow it as much, but I do like it.
Okay. All right.
He did have a question for Rick Middleton, but he texted me and said Isaiah already asked him. So.
What was it?
About the 51 goal season in the trophy that he won.
Right.
But
That's a
of
tough
course
group. I didn't throw the retired piece in because I was just like going, obviously a Stanley Cup would be ideal, but co-captain with Ray Bourque had to have been really cool.
Yeah, you're obsessed with Ray Bourque.
Well, obviously.
He was on the team where I first got interested in hockey.
Middleton?
In the mid 80s. And
Yeah.
And it was just like, that's when I first became totally, I was like, oh my God, why haven't I been watching this?
Right.
Back
on TV
And then that
38.
was also, TV 38. And they also had Derek Sanderson as the color guy, which is infinitely entertaining.
Oh
And
my
he-
God. Fred Cusick
yeah.
and Derek Sanderson were
Yeah,
amazing.
they were the best. They were like the Don and Jerry, of hockey. And it was great listening to Derek Sanderson's keys to the game. Every game was like, skate faster than the other guy, score more goals than the other team.
Most
Those are your
likely he
keys
was
to the
shit-faced.
game. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and he did the Bradley's commercials, which I always thought.
Oh my
Bradley.
He's like, at Bradley's, they give you the best price and they go match any price in town for the best deal. And that sounds pretty good. You know what I mean? You throw in that little Derek Sanderson, wink at you, and stuff. Oh. Yeah,
that was a different guy than had a show on Playboy or whatever he had.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very different guy. Yeah.
Oh, that was definitely when I started. It was probably early 80s right around that. But Fred and Derek on TV 38.
so good.
It was fucking awesome.
Yeah. Fred was such
Awesome.
an anchor because he had to deal with Derek floating off somewhere.
Floating
Some
off.
story like that.
And Derek Sanderson shit-faced on vodka today. We're here at the Boston Garden as the Canadians come to town. Derek's down on the ice beating the shit out of fans.
Oh,
And that's why they retired Nifty 16 and not Derek's.
Right.
Now, I
Whoopsie.
wanted to ask him about that, but I didn't. I also didn't want to put him on the spot because of just the way people clip things. But I wanted to ask him his thoughts on Willie O'Ree's number getting retired.
Oh, right.
He broke the color barrier in the NHL, and he played for the Bruins, number 22. But I feel like for such a long time, I was like, why don't they retire his number? He's the Jackie Robinson of hockey. Why don't they retire it? And I feel like just because they're doing it this year, when it's like a political move, I feel like it's an even bigger slap in the face to him.
You know what? I totally hear that, Josh. I have to agree with you on that. Why they're choosing this particular year,
right?
And it seems like you're right that they're taking advantage of a situation.
That looks even worse than being
because
part of the
Jackie
problem.
Robinson's number is up in every ballpark in the country.
Yes,
everywhere,
and it has been for a long, long time.
And what Nifty was saying, that they took 16 out of the locker room for maybe 6 years before they retired it. And they gave someone number 22 earlier in training camp. So I was like, they weren't even thinking about it. And they were like, oh, you know what would be a good
That's
move?
bad PR. That's just bad PR.
No, you know what, Josh, that's a good observation. Absolutely.
They could have retired his number any other year and made a big deal about it across the entire league, just like Jackie Robinson. It would have been, that would have been an acceptable conversation. Doing it now, I just think looks bad.
I feel like now it's being like, we're going to retire your number because of the color of your skin.
Not good.
No, yeah, right, Josh. That's what I'm saying. They're like taking advantage of a situation for the wrong reason.
I don't know if asking him that he may have had to kind of take a pass on that because he's obviously working with the organization.
It's a touchy subject.
Yeah. A little touchy, a little political, you think?
Yeah.
Buck Undies, did you take a ton of notes?
I did.
You're a good man.
I also called him earlier, and he was sweating profusely because he was pumping iron. Now he seems a little tired.
Getting ripped.
I like my body hurts. I want to lie down.
I've been up since like 4, so yeah.
You know what's good for recovery is Molson Verdor. Yeah, that's
okay.
You're replenishing. You know, it has grains in it, so you're replenishing that, and that's an important protein.
I think Tito's is good. A lot of potatoes.
It's got a lot of water. Well, the beer has more water in it than vodka.
Okay.
So you need that water to expedite the alcohol through your system to, expand your blood vessels, to keep that blood flowing, and then you get less soreness that way.
Fuck Undies, did you not know that Dr. Shu was on the show?
Again, I am not a doctor.
Nor do I play one on this. Yeah, right? Exactly.
But Shu might play a doctor in a movie called Tough Sledding about Rick Middleton, a Canadian kid coaching the USA.
I'm the team trainer.
I had no idea they couldn't go backwards. Really, they're on sleds.
That was so great. Backward.
Oops.
That
Again.
was cool.
Should we thank the sponsors before we get out of here? All right, you guys.
All right, guys, enjoy.
All right.
See ya.
Oh,
hi, there's a dog.
Oh, hi, baby. Oh, hi, baby. All right, I'll see you guys later.
All right, see ya.
All right.